agree that when a very successful man or woman gets married, they generally seek the person who meets their physical ideals, who satisfies their idea of physical perfection.
Certainly, that is almost always a part of making the choice of a mate.
Well, will you please comment on the fact that more and more very successful black men and not so successful but that are marrying white women? And that when they do, as my observation, and I have occasion, I live in a complex where there are 7 such couples, all between successful black men and white women. They absolutely adore them and treat them like queens and are sort of led around by the nose. They're very wimpish when married to white women, more so than most black men who are married to black women are. And of course, I guess you could reverse that and say that when successful black women marry white men, they are also expressing certain attitudes, and I'd like to know what you think those attitudes are.
Okay, there are many. There are many related to this kind of behavior. Of course, a good deal of it is related to the fact that much of what we call education is the result of being made Eurocentric in our values and orientations. And therefore, we come to value things European as a result of being submitted, as a result of being brainwashed by the kind of education we often find necessary to succeed. And as a part of that, the European woman comes to represent to symbolize the ultimate in that kind of a system. She comes to represent what it means to marry a woman. She also comes to symbolize success. She comes to symbolize equality for black men, implying that his ability to marry her makes him equal to a white man because the white man marries this woman, and therefore he being able to do so now is equal. So it sort of caps off his success and symbolizes his success. Involved in that also is a form of self-hatred through which the individual commits what I call biological suicide, in that they often want to create children who do not look like them. If they have been convinced consciously and unconsciously that they are ugly, that the African features are not desirable, then often they will be motivated to create children who do not have features that look like themselves. And in a sense, it's a type of psychological beautification of the man himself, who transforms himself through his children by the fact now that they look different. Many black males equate the marrying of or being with white women as indicative of their manhood. And the fact that the black manhood, masculinity, is often attacked in so many different ways. The getting of a white woman to love him implies that he has achieved manhood as such. Also, the education itself often alienates the black person from black culture and from the mainstream of black people, such that he finds that he can only be satisfied by moving, by marrying or relating to these other people. Plus, I've heard some black men say it's a good way of getting promoted and moved up in position, because it sort of signals to the other side that you are right, you know.
There's something that you said just a moment ago that I think, in terms of maybe at the sake of going back and regressing for a moment, you mentioned that there is in the adoption of a Eurocentric value system, which then becomes the way to get the reward and the benefit of being in the society, as you were talking about a bit earlier, that in that process of adapting and actually accepting that we actually lose our own Afrocentricity, and in some instances find that perhaps either man or woman, that suddenly you can only relate to people of a Eurocentric value system.
You see, a part of becoming an educated servant is, of course, you have to become alienated to a good degree from your group. So moving up, it sort of goes together there, you see. If you're going to enjoy our wealth, make sure you don't transfer it back to the other people, and make sure you don't transfer the knowledge back. And the whole bit. There's always that hidden contract for success for black people. And you will often hear black people, well, I didn't get this position because, of my blackness. I got it because of my qualifications. And it's often the only a black person you hear making that statement, which is an expression of the contract. Don't worry about me transforming now what I've gotten into black power and bringing other black people into it, white folk, therefore I'm a safe bet on your part. And in a sense, it's almost an obligatory statement that we have to make in order to be accepted by that other group. But in the process of becoming accepted, we often then lose that emotional and other kind of attachment with our own